So following up on that last video, so we're talking about Paul's secret of being content in each and every situation, and we saw that I think where that comes from is Paul's conviction of God's unconditional love for him, and a certain humility that what might seem like a bad thing is not necessarily a bad thing in the long run, and what might seem good may not actually be good for him in the deepest sense. So I want to flesh this out with a couple of more modern examples and look at this issue on both sides. So on the one side, to think about some of our best laid plans. So, I think about, as I record this, we're what I hope is approaching the end of this pandemic. And I think back to the beginning of how many business owners, how many restaurant owners, people have been planning for years for the launch of a restaurant, and they did every single thing right. And then this pandemic hits, and all their best laid plans just fall to pieces. Or, for the people who have been planning for retirement and for years and years and were disciplined and did all the right things, and then something like this hits, or the market, the economic crash of about a decade ago, that hits, and all their best laid plans fall to pieces. Remember, Jesus told a similar parable about this successful landowner who had a very rich harvest and actually needed to rebuild his silos so that he could store everything that he had reaped. And on that very night, his life was demanded of him. So we could point to a lot of these kind of examples where, we have a plan, we have a vision, we do everything right, and yet in spite of all that, things do not turn out according to plan. We think we're on the right track, we think that this is a good situation, and then it turns to dust in our mouth. But in like manner, the very opposite can happen. And I think a great example of this is Jeannie Gaffigan, the wife and comedy partner of the more famous comedian Jim Gaffigan, has a book out now called When Life Gives You Pears. And so this book is about her experience of having a brain tumor and going through that and sort of the consequences for her and her family. And it's quite remarkable to come to the end of it. So all throughout the story, she tells about receiving this diagnosis, discovering that she has a pear-sized tumor on her brain, undergoing the operation and dealing with all the consequences, eventually losing her ability to swallow, even being in the hospital for a long time. And at the end of this book, her conclusion is basically gratitude. And on the face of it, we think, how can this be? Like, someone gets struck with a tumor that completely turns her life and the life of their family upside down. This is no one's idea of a great thing. And yet she, at the end of this book, is expressing profound gratitude that because of this experience, her marriage grew stronger, and she grew deeper in her love for her husband, that she was better able to love her children. She says that she learned to be able to love them without being a drill sergeant. She was able to kind of, by necessity, really forced to allow them to become more masters of their own lives and allowing them to grow rather than her controlling every aspect of the family life. That she came to recognize the depth of the love and care of her friends and extended family who rallied around her and her family in this time. But just generally, she talks about how because of this experience, things in life that she took for granted on a daily basis, even something as simple as the ability to swallow water, these very simple things came to take on a new and deeper meaning, precisely because of this experience that, on the face of it, looks like a terrible thing. So I think these kind of examples are really important and instructive for us. I think they help us to see reality through a Christian lens, to recognize that what seems good to us is not necessarily so, and likewise what seems bad to us is not necessarily so. But as Christians, we can have this confidence that whatever is happening, seemingly good or bad, God can turn it to our good. And so I think if we have that mentality, if we see reality in this way, then we, like St. Paul, can be content in each and every situation, to find peace no matter what is going on in our lives. And what a wonderful gift that would be.